Okay, we're going to look at solving quadratic problems, and here's our problem below. So we'll read through it once, and then we'll try to pick out important information the second time through. So a skateboard company models its profit with the function, assuming P stands for profit, right? P at X is equal to blah, all that information there. Where X is the number in thousands that the company sells, okay, and P at X is the profit in tens of thousands of dollars. So there's actually a lot of important information here. First thing we want to look at is our function of profit. They said that the company models profits with this function, okay? And this function is a quadratic, so I'll write it out here. The profit with respect to x is equal to negative 2x squared plus 13x minus 15, where x is the number in thousands. That's important to know that x is in thousands, and P at x is profit in tens of thousands. Both of those are actually really important when we go to get our answers, because the numbers that we're going to find in our function will probably maybe ones or tens, but we'll then have to multiply it by 1,000 or 10,000, okay? So I have to keep that in mind. I didn't actually write down. How many skateboards must the company sell to break even? That's important. I didn't write that down, so let's write it in. How many must they sell to break even? Okay. So our question, how many must they sell to break even? Okay. Well, break even, we have to figure out what that means in terms of profit. That's a business term. How much profit does a company make if they break even? Do you know what profit they would make?
Is that when it's 0?
This one is 0, okay? So profit is equal to 0 at that point. And since P at X represents our profit, we're going to replace P at X with the number 0. So 0 is equal to negative 2x squared plus 13x minus 15. Okay, so what we need to figure out now, because X is representing how many we need to sell, and our goal of selling is 0, okay, we have to isolate for x. So we can factor or quadratic formula, or we can even put this into vertex form to solve for what the x values need to be. Let's try factoring. Do you use decomposition when you factor? Yeah. Okay, so we need two numbers, and we'll see if this works. We need two numbers that multiply to a times c, so negative 2 times negative 15, which is positive 30. And the same two numbers need to add to our 13. Okay. Well, that actually gives me 3, 10, and 3 and 10. So very quickly off the top of my head, I know that those two will work. So in our decomposition, we get negative 2x squared plus 3x plus 10x minus 15. Does this make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to common factor our first two terms, and I'm going to take out negative x, okay? And when I do that, that leaves me with positive 2x and negative 3. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. And in our next one, I'm going to factor out 5. I can take out positive 5 from these two terms, and that'll leave me with 2x minus 3. And aha, lo and behold, our two brackets are the same, so when we factor, we know we're now going to get 2x minus 3. We've common factored that out, and we're left with the other two values, which are negative x and positive 5. So we get minus x plus 5 in our other bracket. Great. Now all of this is equal to 0. So in order to figure out what our x values need to be, we're going to split our equation here. And we're going to say 0 is equal to 2x minus 3, and 0 is equal to negative x plus 5. So we're going to solve for two values here. When we bring negative 3 over, it becomes positive 3, so we get 3 is equal to 2x. And how do we isolate x here?
Divide by 2.
Yeah, so we get x is 3 over 2, or known as 1.5. Okay. On the other side, I'm actually going to move x to the other side. And the reason being is because that'll make x positive, and we need x to be positive. And the only thing left on this side will be the value of 5. So there we go. We figured out our 2. So the company needs to sell, okay, 1.5 or 5 skateboards. That seems like a really small company. So let's go back and look at this important information. If you recall, they said x was in thousands. Okay. So in order to actually answer this, the company must sell. The company must sell. And what we're going to have to do is take these values. So I'm going to take my 1.5 and I'm going to multiply it by 1,000. And I'm going to take my 5 and multiply that by 1,000. Okay? And the two values are the company must sell 1,500 or 5,000 skateboards. Boards to break even. To break. I know it's an oddly. That's odd the way I did the sentence. I just kind of threw it in there. To break even. Okay. So what does that mean? I'm going to draw a rough sketch of this, okay? Because that kind of seems weird. What do you mean by two values? Well, it actually makes sense. Assume this is our x values are in thousands again, okay? Well, we had one x-intercept at 1.5 and the other one at 5. And we know that this is a parabola that faces downwards because the a value is negative. So this parabola does something like this, okay? So that actually makes a lot of sense. What that means is the company, if it sells any less than 1,500, so from 0 to there, they're losing money. At anything after 1,500, they make money up to some number we don't know yet. We could figure it out. This would be their peak profit. This would be ideal. And then after that, they start getting something called diminishing returns, which is, again, a business concept. But what's happening is it's costing them more to produce the product than people are paying to get it. And then after 5,000, it's costing them too much money to make that profit or to make that skateboards, and they're no longer making money. The second part of this asks how many skateboards does a company need to sell to make a profit. That's where you can kind of make a domain. So in other words, a company needs to sell between 1,500 and 5,000. And you could kind of write that, if you recall doing our domain, is needs to be less, it needs to be greater than that. And the reason it needs to be greater than and not equal to is because equal to would be even. Okay, and to make a profit, we need to be just larger than that, and we need to be just smaller than 5,000, because at 5,000, again, we break even. So this is very similar to our restrictions with our domain. Okay. If you wanted to figure out what the proper profit would be, you need to figure out what the vertex of that is.